Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to TSKF1. My name's Rich, and this is your one-stop shop for daily news on Formula One, 9 a.m. UK times. Today, we're going to be talking about Toto Wolff and what's going to be happening with the W13 Mercedes. Binotto talking about strategic calls at Ferrari, some Fernando Alonso news, and also we're going to be talking about potentially three new engine manufacturers coming into the sport in 2026, but we're going to be saving that till later. So please do remember to smash a like on the video and subscribe. So, without further ado, let's get a little bit into it. We're talking about Binotto here of Ferrari. Now, he's talking about yesterday in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. He's been very quick to praise the Ferrari strategists because they apparently dummied and Red Bull fell for it. Now, I've got to be honest, when I was doing my watch long, I was watching it on mute. I didn't have any commentary. So maybe the chat can help me out with that one because I honestly didn't notice any Ferrari dummy. I didn't notice anything like that. But Binotto has been quick to praise his team, saying Charles had a bit more margin on the cars behind and could save more of the tyres, which gave him the benefit to go for the one stop. It was great to see the team being flexible in choosing one driver to go on one stop and the second to optimise race results. The dummy call on the Red Bull was fantastic. Certainly, we did a proper job, and overall, we made it right, so I'm happy for the team. When Ferrari has been making mistakes, there is always a lot of criticism. But I know these guys can do very well. And honestly, yesterday, I'm not really sure I completely agree with his assessment. It seems like is the word platitudes. It seems like he's just saying words to be positive there, because honestly, like science, he didn't really do much, did he, in the Grand Prix? He didn't do much at all in the Grand Prix. Leclerc, solid in second, but as for praising the strategic calls, I'm not sure Ferrari did anything particularly out there. I'm just going to adjust my camera because it is a little bit off. A little bit off, and it keeps auto focusing on my beard, which is making it all a little wrong. Good morning, Charlie and Pascal. Good morning, guys. So I don't know. Did I miss something? Because Binotto saying the dummy call on the Red Bull was fantastic. On the footage I was watching, on the coverage I was watching, I didn't necessarily notice anything in particular that made me think, "Wow, Ferrari's really done a number on Red Bull there," and they didn't. I don't know. Maybe I missed something. Is this to do with Perez taking a two stop and Leclerc taking a one stop? Did Ferrari dummy at that point? I don't know. I'm missing a little bit of context here, I think. I need to carry on adjusting this just a touch. But I've got to be careful how much I adjust it, you see. Live, live. There we go. That'll do. So yeah, I didn't really notice the dummy, I've got to say, but I suppose Binotto's got to come out and he has to praise. Um, Honestly, Pascal, I didn't notice anything. I didn't notice anything. Maybe in commentary people noticed it. Um, so yeah, I didn't see an instance of the Ferraris coming out in the pits and dummying Red Bull, but they obviously did or did something, and it fooled them because I didn't see anything. I have to admit. But Binotto praising Ferrari, and I think that's important with the season they've had. If they've done something right, then they need praising for it because we all know they've made plenty of mistakes, right? Moving on, Toto Wolff talking about the final race, Abu Dhabi, saying how Lewis Hamilton retiring is basically a summary of their season. How it's not been right this season really for them, and the things that have gone wrong this season. And in a funny way, I find it kind of funny, but I also understand it. Toto Wolff said they're going to be putting the W13 in the reception area, the foyer area, at the Mercedes factory as a reminder as to what happens when it goes wrong. And that is Mercedes in third place in the constructors, I believe, this year, which for them is nothing short of a disaster. Now, I did see a little bit of the build-up on F1 TV, and they asked Ferrari whether they would prefer to come third in the championship and get more wind tunnel time, or come second and get more prize money. And the Ferrari chap seemed genuinely bemused and surprised that he'd been asked that question. So I think that sort of question is a fan question, but it's not a question within the teams. They want to finish as high as possible. They don't care about the wind tunnel time. All they care about is maximising where they finish within the championship standings, the constructors and the drivers, but mainly the constructors, isn't it, for the team? Because that's where the money is. But the Ferrari chap didn't care at all about extra wind tunnel time. He's like, this is the first time I've been asked this. No, we're definitely going for second place in the constructors. And I found that quite interesting because it was something I'd seen over the internet, be it on Twitter, be it on Facebook, where people were theorizing that maybe it might be better for Mercedes to come third to get more wind tunnel time, or it might be better for Ferrari to come third to get more wind tunnel time. I think it's quite I think that's maybe quite a naive view on it, because we forget that they have sponsors and they have sponsorship targets, they have board targets that they have to meet. They all have a job at the end of the day. And already, really, if you compare last season to this season, Ferrari have taken a step, and already people are talking about Binotto being replaced. Indeed, we've talked about it on this channel because it was doing the rounds last week. So they all have targets still. So the question is never going to be about money. It's more going to be about finishing position, because that's what gets you the sponsors. That's what gets you all the rest of it. So, you know, with Ferrari, they're big sponsors, and no doubt with Mercedes, they've probably have had to put in place something moving forward into next season to show their sponsors and things that they're going to deliver as well. But yeah, there's that piece of news, really, that they're going to take basically Lewis Hamilton's car and put it into the reception at the Mercedes base as a reminder to people how bad it can be for the team, because they've serially won for many years, right? So for them to come third is pretty much a disastrous season really for Mercedes. And let's have a look here at the next bit of news, which is Fernando Alonso. Now, you may have seen on social media, I saw it on social media yesterday, where they were already saying goodbye to Fernando Alonso at Alpine. And I was kind of surprised at the speed with which things will be moving for Fernando. He's said his goodbyes to the Alpine team, and he's basically immediately done. So he said, I'm gonna find the quote here. I'm gonna find the quote with just how quickly he said it's going to happen. So tomorrow we start with this project, with the seat fit and meetings with a few people. Then on Tuesday, testing the car will hopefully be a good chapter, and all the bad luck of this year hopefully compensate next. So already Fernando Alonso today is having his seat fit in Abu Dhabi in the Aston Martin, ready to actually start testing tomorrow, because of course there's a test starting tomorrow, end of season test, and it looks like Fernando Alonso is straight into the Aston Martin. Now what I will be doing is keeping an eye on that, trying to get data on that, and I will bring you news of the test as I have it, pretty much, because it might be interesting. Obviously they're not in next year's cars, but for people like Fernando and maybe Logan Sargent as another example, it gives them time to have a little shakedown. We'll call it a shakedown with the team to see how it all works and get an idea of the nature of it. But I just thought it was really interesting. But I suppose if anyone knows anything about MotoGP, at the end of season tests in MotoGP, the riders go to the new team, and technically, from what I understand, they're still under contract to their old team, but they get like it's just a special get out clause kind of thing, and they're sort of released from that responsibility. So yeah, De Vries also in the AlphaTauri. See, that's less. I get that, but I don't know. It was something about a sitting racing driver getting straight into his new team. I don't recall it being so quick, but there you go. And normally, I thought they put young drivers in for this test a lot of the time and things like that. So it will be good to see. It'll be good to see Fernando in the Aston Martin, De Vries out in the AlphaTauri. AlphaTauri really need to take a step up, don't they? They've had a very poor season, in my opinion. And I guess Logan Sargent might be in the Williams as well from tomorrow because, of course, he does have his super license. I might try and do a video later on about the end of season test as well, just so that people know what's going on. But next is the big story. Next is the big story, and I'm a little bit gutted there's only 9 people here because this is actually I've come across this, and either it's going to be sort of made up, or I could be on something very, very early. And to be fair, a few things I've been on very, very early. So the 3 potential new manufacturers which are being spoken about in Formula One are Bosch. Not Bosch, because that's obviously another manufacturer. Honda, I'll explain in a moment. Porsche and Ford. Unbelievably, after we've kind of talked about Ford are apparently looking at a return to Formula One. What's funny about Ford? I don't know what's funny about Ford. So Honda, Porsche, and Ford, and I would absolutely love to see Ford back on the grid myself. Honda, I'll explain in a moment, and Porsche have been floating around in talks with all sorts of teams. So it's coming out of again. I don't know how reputable this is, but this report is coming out of Auto Motor und Sport, a German publication, and it's looking like Ford will be another Haas. No, but these everyone knows about Audi. These would be entering as new again, Stephen. Ford will be another Haas. I think you really need to look up Ford in Formula One, Jamie. Like Ford, I think still are the most successful engine supplier in Formula One. Jamie, like, yeah. Andretti aren't. Well, Andretti just aren't. Andretti aren't even slightly in the conversation, from what I understand. Nothing to do with Andretti. Audi, everyone know. Audi are confirmed. Andretti don't want to do a deal that works for anyone. They just seem to be complaining about how much it costs and not actually doing it. Audi, everyone knows, but these are potential. So what is clear at the moment is Red Bull want full control of their powertrain division. They want full control of their powertrain division. So what would this is the thing that I tried to explain before to people. So Porsche obviously have been floating around for a little bit when people have been on about Audi and Porsche. What are you saying? Whatever for? I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand really. But anyway, Porsche were only ever interested in sort of a naming rights partnership type situation. Whereas Audi wanted a full team involvement within Formula One, which they've gone and secured with Sauber, obviously, in partnership with Sauber. That's what they've done. Now, Porsche look to be still doing that and are speaking to teams about how they can make that work. So, how we've just had Sauber being called Alfa Romeo, you'd maybe have a Porsche team, for example, I'm trying to think, like Alpha Tauri. Instead, it would be called Porsche or something like that. Um, and it looks like Ford might be looking for a similar thing where, um, for example, Red Bull, didn't they, when they fell out with Renault, didn't they run tag engines when really the watchmaker doesn't obviously make engines? And it looks like they're looking to do similar. Now, interestingly, Honda look to be coming back, which is news to me, because Red Bull want theirs to be completely separate and called Red Bull Powertrains, and they actually do want to produce engines. Honda genuinely, apparently, are looking to come back with another team, which, I mean, Honda are like a yo-yo, aren't they? It's crazy. Honda are like a yo-yo. So what it seems like, on the face of it initially, Honda are looking to be a full-on engine manufacturer again, but Porsche and Ford are looking for sort of naming rights on a team on I don't know. I think you're massively underplaying how powerful Ford are, to be honest, Jamie. But so it looks like you're going to have a Ford and a Porsche team, or potentially a Porsche and a Ford team, and Honda coming back as a powertrain provider. Now, obviously, I was about to ask what we think of that. Now, obviously, Jamie thinks Ford being included is a joke for some reason, but Porsche and Honda being involved, again, it's a naming. I don't believe, from anything I've ever read so far, Porsche aren't looking to be making engines. They aren't looking for that kind of deal. They don't want to enter the powertrain race within Formula One. And I believe it looks like what Pascal said, you'd probably get Ford, Red Bull powertrain. I don't know what namings they would get, or Red Bull powertrains powered by Ford, or something. You know, I'm just making this up, but it'd make. Well, I mean, the others are. This is the thing, Jamie. The others are fine, apart from the fact neither of them are as successful as Ford. This is what I mean. Put Porsche in Formula One, like, you know. So it is a little bit skewed. But McLaren and Porsche had a successful past relationship in Formula One with their collaboration in the 80s, triggering suggestions that Zach Brown might be up for a works deal to replace the deal with Mercedes. But he said that they're very happy with Mercedes, and he firmly believes that you can win a championship with a customer engine. He says there's obviously benefits to being a works team with some advanced knowledge that you get, but we have a long-term contract with Mercedes. We're very happy with the collaboration, and we aren't really spending too much time thinking about 2026 and beyond. So sort of one of the routes for Porsche or others to enter the fray there with McLaren, they're happy with Mercedes. And I've got to admit, I feel like for McLaren especially, they're in a position where they should be looking at it. Now, these are potential. I should have changed the heading on this, but these are potential. These aren't done deals. What do we think to Honda? Like, Honda, I find the most curious one out of that. I find Honda a seriously curious thing there. What are they doing as a company and a corporation? Is it the recent Red Bull success now with the old Honda powertrain that they're looking at it like, you know what, we can make this work, and actually as a brand it's good for us? Because Red Bull have put bigger HRC and Honda advertising onto the cars and things like that. It's just an interesting one for me. Out of the three, Honda is the one that's confusing me, because they keep really making odd choices. No, Honda and Red Bull apparently are done, Pascal. That's what I'm reading this morning, that Honda and Red Bull are done. In so much as Honda want to be full, like they want to be the powertrain provider, Red Bull really want it known that it's Red Bull powertrains, and on that basis, their working relationship as it is now, beyond 2026, can't carry on. That's what I've read this morning. That Red Bull are extremely keen that they are the primary name on the engine, and Honda only want it to be Honda. Like, this deal worked for them because they were just a customer. They were giving them sort of spec engines because of the engine freeze. But Honda are of the position, if they are developing the engine actively, then it needs to be Honda, and it says Honda, not Red Bull Powertrains Honda or whatever. That's what I'm reading, Pascal. Obviously, this is super early, isn't it? So it could come to fruition. That's how it is, Pascal. But what I'm reading this morning, that's not the case. Honda have half F1 wins that Ford have. Back in the day, Ford were the engine to have, but I think Ferrari is the most successful engine supplier overall. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. I'm pretty sure that Ford were top still because of the DFV. Honda is amazing. Red Bull, if you ask me. Ford is a relic of the past times. I mean, you can't really say that, to be honest, Jamie, because Honda were a relic of the past times until they came back again and started winning again. It's a bit redundant to say that, really. I honestly don't agree with that. Just because a team had success in the past, it's like people look at Williams now and think that Williams can be successful again, which they can. Just because they had success in the past doesn't guarantee future success, but they can be that team again, you know. They should have their own teams to get great, have more teams. Yeah, I read last week that Honda and Ford are both talking with Red. Apparently yes, that's last week. This morning, apparently Honda, it's an impasse because of what Red Bull want and what Honda would want. Honda have said no dice, and that's what I mean. I'm trying to find the quote now for you. Honda's decision would be a deeper collaboration, but the energy drink company appears absolutely determined to maintain absolute and full control of its new engine subsidiary, Red Bull Powertrains. So that's the thing. So that's the thing. Red Bull really want it known that they are the engine supplier. And I'm just to be clear, I'm not having a go at you, Jamie. I just think you're very much understating Ford's power within Formula One and motoring as a whole. Just because they've not been involved in the last 15 years doesn't mean that they wouldn't be successful again. I mean, Ford are an absolute giant of motoring, aren't they? They're just a giant. So that's an interesting thing, and a Porsche would be a curious one again, because from what I'm reading, it's just like a naming rights thing. So So it's interesting. Like, would Ford and Porsche just be in by name only, like Alfa Romeo? I don't know, but I'd like more engine manufacturers for real, and it is a good thing for the sport, isn't it? It's only a good thing for the sport to have more involved. But yeah, there we go. I mean, that to me, that's big news. It's a big news, potentially big news, and we'll see how this develops. I'll keep my eye on it, and feel free comment on this video and things like that if you see anything more. But that's what I've seen today, and when I saw this, I was like, "Oh, that's big." But over the next few days, they need smart brains. I mean, I wouldn't exactly call Ford thick either, but it would be amazing if they did, John. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. So over the next week or so, I'm not sure actually how long the test is. Is it a few days this week or is it one day? I'm not entirely sure. But over the next few days, I'll bring you news about the F1 testing, how that's going, and the latest goings on with that. I think that kicks off tomorrow. So probably Wednesday morning, I'll bring you news on that. I might see if I can find out some details on that and bring you a preview video later on about the F1 testing that's going on at Abu Dhabi. But as always, I'm going to be live 9 a.m. Monday to Friday on this channel, hopefully with enough news to keep me going, but there's going to be season reviews and things like that. And all this good stuff coming on the channel in the next couple of weeks. Some of it with Harry and John, which should be good. But I'm going to go live on Facebook Gaming very shortly with F1 Manager. If you want to come and look, it's Pit Lane Sim Racing over there. But if not, please do make sure you smash the like on the video and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you at 9 a.m. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye.